As the manila envelope landed on the mahogany dining table, the crystal wine glass exploded in my grip. Blood trickled down my wrist, but it was insignificant compared to the burning humiliation in my chest as 20 pairs of eyes turned towards me. My name is Olive, and this was supposed to be just another typical Blake family Thanksgiving. What is this? I asked, my voice steadier than anticipated even though my fingers shook as they reached for the envelope. They were divorce papers. Emerson's tone was practiced and flat. He had likely rehearsed this speech with his mother Eleanor approvingly from her throne-like chair at the head of the table. I thought it would be better to do this here, with family present. Better for whom? The question died on my lips as Kora, my sister-in-law, couldn't hide a snicker. Since the day Emerson and I married, she had been waiting for this moment. Divorce papers at Thanksgiving dinner? It tasted like acid. The turkey and cranberry sauce on my plate suddenly seemed grotesque. Well, darling, Eleanor's voice was sweetened with false sympathy. We thought it might be easier this way. The family can offer emotional support. My best friend ally, who insisted on coming with me this year, held my hand under the table. Thank God she was here. Emotional support? I echoed, noting how the blood stained the pristine white tablecloth. Like the emotional support you showed when you called my art glorified finger painting last Christmas? Oh, come now, Kora chimed in, wine swaying in her glass. Let's not pretend your little hobby was ever worth anything. Remember that gallery show where nobody bought a single piece? The room filled with cruel laughter, and even the cousins I thought were on my side joined in. I looked at Emerson, searching for the man who once supported my artistic passion and helped set up my studio in this very guest house. But he wouldn't meet my eyes. I think what everyone's trying to say, Eleanor said, dabbing her napkin delicately, is that it's time to face reality. You're not fit for this family, Olive. We need someone more substantial. My hand touched my purse where a document had sat for months. The deed to this estate, transferred to me by Emerson in a drunken moment on our 5th anniversary. He forgot about it by morning, but I filed the paperwork quietly. You're right, Eleanor. I rose slowly, allowing blood to drip onto her precious tablecloth. I'm not fit for this family. I'm better than it. Excuse me? Emerson's face turned red. Ella, would you mind taking me to the emergency room? I appear to have cut myself. I turned to the stunned faces around the table. Oh, and Eleanor, you might want to clean the tablecloth quickly. Bloodstains are nightmares to remove, almost as tough as eviction notices. Eviction notices? Eleanor's fork clattered against her plate. What are you talking about? I smiled, a calm settling within me. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Enjoy the turkey. It might be your last meal here. As Ally helped me to her car, chaos erupted behind us. Doors slammed, voices were raised. Emerson called my name. Holy, Ally whispered as we drove away. Are you okay? I watched the mansion shrink in the side mirror, its windows warm and inviting, a facade like everything else about the Blakes. No, I replied honestly, but I will be. What did you mean about eviction notices? She asked. I pulled the deed from my bag, careful not to get blood on it. Remember when Emerson got drunk last year and said this house should belong to someone who appreciates its history? Ollie's eyes widened at the document. No way. Yes way. He signed the deed that night. I've been thinking about what to do with it. What do you have in mind? The first real smile of the evening spread across my face. I'm thinking this place would make a fantastic art gallery. After all, Eleanor always said this house needed more culture. As we headed to the hospital, something shifted inside. The humiliation was still present, but stronger now was determination. They wanted to break me. Fine. But they overlooked one crucial thing. Sometimes, the best art emerges from broken things. Later, I announced to Ally at her apartment. 7 stitches, wiggling my bandaged hand. The doctor said I'm lucky I didn't sever any tendons. Lucky isn't a word I'd use for anything that happened today, Ally laughed, handing me a plastic cup of wine. Your phone's been buzzing like crazy. 23 missed calls from Emerson. I sank into her plush couch, exhausted. Let him sweat. So, are we going to talk about the bombshell you're sitting on? That deed is serious business, Olive. I know. I took a long sip of wine. I called Riley, our lawyer, from the hospital. She's coming first thing tomorrow morning. I finally scrolled through messages. Oh, this is rich. Listen to Kora. How dare you disgrace our family like this, after everything we've done for you? Ally snorted. Everything they've done for you. Like what? Criticize your art, exclude you from photos, mock your clothes? Memories flooded back. Remember last summer's garden party, when Eleanor referred to me as the cleaning lady, embarrassed to introduce me? Oh, God, yes, and Emerson did nothing. 5 years of marriage, and he never truly stood by me. My voice cracked. The doorbell rang, startling us. Peeking through the peephole, Ally cursed. It's Emerson. Olive, his voice echoed through the door. I know you're in there. We need to talk. I shook my head and Ally shouted back. She doesn't want to see you, Emerson. Go home. Thumping against the door, probably his fist. You can't just threaten my family's home. The deed was a mistake. I approached the door, heart racing. A mistake? Like serving divorce papers at Thanksgiving was a mistake. That's different. I was trying to what? Humiliate me? Mission accomplished. I pressed my bandaged hand to the door. But here's the funny part. While you laughed at my failed art career, I was building something else you never noticed, too busy being ashamed of me. What are you talking about? My paintings might not sell, Emerson, but my art restoration business is thriving. I've been saving every penny for an opportunity, and guess what? You just handed it to me. Silence hung heavy from the other side. Go home, I finally said. Talk to your lawyer. I'll be talking to mine. His footsteps retreated, and I slumped against the wall. Art restoration business? Ally lifted an eyebrow. When Ally mentioned Francisco, my former art professor, I realized how long it had been since I last thought of him. I took out my phone and showed her my professional website. Francisco had been mentoring me for a year, during which I discovered that wealthy clients pay large sums to have their family heirlooms restored. These are amazing, Ally said as she scrolled through the site, her eyes widening. Why didn't you tell anyone? She asked. I shrugged, taking my phone back. No one ever asked. They were convinced I was a failure and never bothered to look closer. Even Emerson stopped asking about my hobby a month ago. I received a text from Riley just then, saying, Got your message. Reviewed the deed. It's ironclad. Meeting tomorrow at 9 a.m. to discuss options. Ally read the message over my shoulder. What exactly are you planning? She asked. I walked to the window, gazing at the city lights. The house has always been a symbol of everything the Blakes said I couldn't achieve, I said. So I'll turn it into what I am, an art gallery. Not just any gallery, but a restoration studio and gallery, a place where broken things become beautiful and the past gets a second chance. They're going to fight you on this, Ally warned. Let them, I replied, holding up my bandaged hand. They've drawn first blood. Now it's my turn. My phone buzzed again with a message from Eleanor. You ungrateful nobody. You have no idea what you're getting into. I showed Ally the message, who whistled low. You know what this means, right? Yes, I replied, typing a quick response. Actually, Eleanor, I do. See you in court, I replied, before blocking her number. Emerson, you humiliated me in front of your entire family. They all laughed as I bled. I never meant for them to do that, Emerson said, reaching across the table for my hand, but I pulled back. What never meant for me to fight back? Never meant for me to be any more than the disappointing artist wife you couldn't defend. I challenged. I have an offer. He switched tactics. The family wants to buy the house from you. Name your price. Money was always the center of things with the Blakes. Not interested, I replied. Be reasonable, Olive. What do you plan to do with a house that big? Turn it into, he waved dismissively, an art space. Actually, yes, I said, showing him Francisco's preliminary designs on my tablet. The main hall will be the gallery, the east wing will host the restoration studio, and the west wing will be— Stop, Emerson interrupted, pinching the bridge of his nose. This is absurd. You can't what? Succeed? Make something of myself. I leaned forward. Or is it that you can't bear the thought of me turning your precious family estate into something meaningful? Mother will never allow this, he warned. Mother doesn't have a choice. I stood up. And neither do you. He grabbed my wrist. Wait, please, there's more. Kora's pregnant, he said softly. She and her husband were supposed to move into the estate next month. It's tradition for the next generation to be raised there. The news was like a physical blow. Kora, who made my life hell for the past 5 years, was about to get everything she ever wanted. That's not my concern. Olive, please. If not for me, then for the family. The family that never accepted me? The sister-in-law who mocked every piece of art I created. I freed my wrist. You know what tradition I'm starting? Being the first person in that house to actually create something instead of just inheriting it. Emerson's expression hardened. You're making a mistake. No, Emerson. My mistake was marrying you 5 years ago, I said, rising again. Tell Kora congratulations. I'm sure she'll raise her child to be as kind and accepting as the rest of you. This isn't over, he called as I walked away. Actually, it is, I replied, turning back one last time. Warn your mother, the contractors start next week. I'd hate for the construction noise to disturb her afternoon tea. Outside, I called, Ollie. How'd it go? She asked. About as expected, I said, starting to walk. Did you know Kora's pregnant? No way. Yeah. Apparently I'm breaking some grand family tradition by not letting them raise another generation of entitled Blakes there. So, what are you going to do? I paused at a red light, watching people rush past. I'm going to create something beautiful, something lasting. Maybe one day, Kora's child will see my gallery and realize there's more to life than tradition and appearances. They won't make it easy, Ally warned. Good, I replied, touching my healing hand. The best art never does come easy. My phone buzzed. Francisco texted. Started on the crown piece. Come see. I have to go, I told Ollie. Time to make some art.
Give them hell, she said.
I smiled, already envisioning Eleanor's face when construction crews arrived. No, I'm going to give them beauty. That'll hurt more. The light changed, and I crossed the street, leaving the cafe and Emerson's desperate pleas behind me. Before me lay Francisco's studio, and beyond that, a future I was ready to pay myself. The sound of power tools echoed throughout the Blake estate as workers transformed the space. I stood where Eleanor's beloved formal dining room used to be, now stripped bare except for my easel and canvases. The lighting system will be installed by Friday, the contractor said, checking his tablet. Gallery rails go up as soon as we prep the walls.
Perfect.
I stepped over cables to examine the north wall. And the security system? State of the art. No one's getting in without your say-so. A commotion outside drew our attention. Through the window, I saw Eleanor gesturing wildly at the security guard. Excuse me a moment, I said. Eleanor was in full battle mode outside, her designer handbag clutched like a weapon. This is outrageous, she yelled. That guard won't let me into my own home. Not your home anymore, I reminded her. And his name is Marcus. He's former military and deserves respect. Her face reddened. You're destroying everything. Do you know what you're doing to this family? Actually, I do. I gestured to a dumpster filled with her precious Victorian wallpaper. I'm giving this house a purpose beyond hosting your toxic dinner parties. How dare you? No, Eleanor. How dare you? I stepped closer. 5 years I tried to be good enough for your family. I smiled through insults, endured criticism, watched as you turned my husband against me. Emerson made his own choices. Yes, he did. And so did I. I showed her Francisco's latest Instagram post, my restoration of a damaged Renaissance Madonna now gleaming with new life. The post had over 50,000 likes. What is this? She asked. This is what I've been doing while you all laughed at my little hobby. Building a reputation, making connections, proving that broken things can become masterpieces. A truck pulled up with the custom gallery lighting. Eleanor watched, her hands trembling. The opening is in 3 weeks, I continued. Critics from every major art publication will be there. They're especially interested in my piece about family betrayal, the one inspired by Thanksgiving. You wouldn't dare, she whispered. Watch me. I nodded to Marcus, who stepped forward. Now, unless you'd like to be escorted out, I suggest you leave. I have work to do. Eleanor stormed off, and Francisco appeared beside me with a fresh canvas. Nicely handled, he said. Inside, I stood before my centerpiece, a massive triptych dominating the main wall. The left panel showed a shattered wine glass with drops of blood-red wine frozen midair. The center panel was still in progress, chaos of dark colors and sharp edges, while the right panel remained blank. I can't figure out how it ends, I admitted, picking up my brush. That's because you're not at the end yet. Francisco adjusted his glasses. Your story is still unfolding. My phone pinged with a message from Ollie. OMG, you have to see this. She'd sent a link to Kora's social media rant about family loyalty and artistic sacrilege, complete with photos of the estate's transformation. The comments were divided, with art figures defending the renovation. Look at this one, Francisco pointed. Bold vision. Can't wait to see the space, a famous gallery owner wrote. I smiled, adding a gold streak to the center panel. Think they'll come to the opening? They already RSVP'd along with half the city's art scene. Francisco chuckled. Your revenge is going viral. I stepped back, studying my work. The paint glistened, wet and alive, like an open wound healing into beauty. It's not just revenge anymore. A loud crash disrupted us in the foyer, signaling a moment of realization. In the hallway lay one of Eleanor's old portraits, its frame shattered. Should we fix it? Francisco inquired. Running my fingers over the gilded edges, I replied, No, this one stays broken. A reminder of what we leave behind. I placed it among my supplies, highlighting the contrast between the past and the new world I was constructing. Francisco speculated about the completion. 3 weeks. I dipped my brush into dawn-colored paint. I already am, confidently declaring, returning to the triptych's final panel, envisioning the conclusion. Transformation was the motif, capturing the moment when broken glass refracts into a rainbow. Workers continued their renewal symphony while the Blakes maneuvered elsewhere, yet in my room full of potential, I felt liberated. On opening night, the revitalized Blake estate thrummed with excitement, guests mingling under crystal chandeliers. Isn't that the director from Modern? Ally whispered. And that art critic from the Times, she pointed, making me straighten my designer dress funded by restoration.
Focus, Ally.
Any Blake sightings? Not yet. Then she paused. Scratch that, Eleanor just appeared with reinforcements. Eleanor entered like an avenging angel, a team in tow, clad in mourning black for her past domain. Kora's pregnancy was apparent in her tight red dress. Francisco offered champagne. Remember, it's your night. Eleanor surveyed the scene as my new gallery walls displayed a narrative of rebirth through art, devoid of her prized antiques. Francisco addressed the gathering, inviting me to speak. Thank you all for being here. I began, noting the history of tradition in the house, heralding a new beginning. Motioning to my work, I emphasized themes of transformation from destruction. The crowd murmured in appreciation, while critics documented the event. Next, I unveiled the centerpiece, a painted reflection with shards of glass casting a spectrum of possibility, titled Thanksgiving Grace. Eleanor interjected, her voice sharp. Spite and revenge made this, a tantrum from one who wouldn't fit in our family. The silence was intense. Cameras turned to capture the unfolding drama. You're right, I acknowledged calmly, but not accepting a place too small, too dark, too false. Eleanor retorted, How dare you? How dare you? I countered, Belittle this. Everything in this room testifies to the beauty I've created. Kora sneered, but I explained, true legacy isn't about preserving the past, but transforming it meaningfully. Each piece's broken origin rooted in reality, repurposed into something beautiful. Critics noted furiously while Eleanor paled. You think you've won, she hissed. No, Eleanor, I've imbued purpose. I toasted to beginnings. The crowd raised their glasses, dismissing Eleanor's input. Amid resumed conversations, Emerson led her and Kora away. That was incredible, Ally breathed. Francisco squeezed my shoulder, and I noticed a red, marking the triptych as sold for a sum unimaginable. Across the room, red dots adorned other works. Olive, a quiet voice beckoned Emerson. The divorce documents are signed, I stated before he could, noticing the transformed space. Don't forget what you never saw. I dismissed him for admirers. I felt lighter with every step, having turned the attempts to break me into extraordinary art. A Times critic raised their glass towards me, while out the window, Eleanor's vehicle disappeared into the night. Let her leave, I considered, as my own narrative took hold. Have you read this? Ally interrupted, brandishing her tablet. The Times review is out. Pausing my restoration on an 18th century piece, I asked for the read. Artist Olive transforms family tension into transcendence. Ally read, celebrating the Blake estate's dual renewal. My phone buzzed with Riley on the other end, urging, turn on Channel 7. The headline hit hard. Blake family's financial scandal revealed. The Blake investments facing federal scrutiny over mismanaged funds, Eleanor and Emerson accused. Oh Lord, Ally gasped. There's more, Riley noted. Use the estate as loan collateral. Without the deed, you'd have lost it all. The implications dawned. They faced losing their home regardless. Footage showed Eleanor leaving her office under reporters' scrutiny, Emerson absent. I questioned Emerson's whereabouts to Riley. He's cooperating to save himself, she confirmed. Known for such tendencies, I continued with a deep sense of relief at having secured what truly mattered. After a slight hesitation, I switched calls after Kora beeped my number. What do you want, Kora, please? I asked. Her voice was thick with tears. I need your help. Why would I help you? I questioned. Because I'm about to lose everything, she sobbed. The baby, I can't. I have nowhere to go. Francisco entered the room, took one glance at my expression and mouthed, What's wrong? I signaled for him to wait with a finger. Kora, I began. I know I treated you poorly. She interrupted. I was envious of you. You had genuine talent, real passion, and I simply had family money. Money that turned out to be stolen. I closed my eyes, recalling all the times she ridiculed my art and dreams in her seemingly perfect world. The guest house, I finally said, It's small but clean. You can stay there until you figure things out. There was a pause, then she quietly asked, Why would you do this? Because I'm not you, I replied, looking at my triptych on the studio wall. And because sometimes broken things deserve a chance to be rebuilt. After hanging up, I briefed Francisco and Ally on everything. You're really going to help her? Ally asked, surprised. The guest house is where I used to paint, I answered, running my hands over an antique frame I was restoring. It's where I discovered who I truly was despite everything they did to break me. Perhaps Kora needs that, too. Francisco nodded approvingly. Speaking of rebuilding, he presented a newspaper clipping. The city's Historic Preservation Society wants to hire us. Our work here has evidently impressed them. My phone buzzed again, a text from Riley. Eleanor's lawyer reached out. She wants to make a deal. I texted back. No deals. The house stays as it is. As Ally read over my shoulder, she noted, You could probably buy their entire company for pennies now. I shook my head. I don't want their company. I want this, I said, gesturing to the studio's in-progress restorations. This is real. This matters. Through the window, I saw a car pull up. It was Kora with a small suitcase. She appeared lost, nothing like the proud woman who laughed at my pain just weeks prior. I should go help her settle in, I said.